Now let me invite the last speaker of this session, Mr. Stanley George, the Vice President and Head HR of Hexaware. Again, from the IT space, now we have to counter both the engineering space. Please, sir. With a big round of applause to Stanley.
Thanks, Anbu, and a very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let me thank Anbu to actually put my session before lunch. Normally, I'm a post-lunch speaker, so I want to thank Anbu for that. And secondly, I think we are closer to lunch time, and many of you will be hungry, angry, whatever. Angry for the sense that almost all of us are talking one-on-one, and almost all of us are on the same page, trying to give you a lot of advices. So you must be wondering, what is it? We come for any seminar, any meeting, whatever bridge, companies or people from the industry come and they come back and target us. And as Mr. Krishna rightly said, there's a difference between the people who are sitting on the dais and people sitting down there. And that's a hair quotient. I think it's very true. And probably a couple of months or 3 months down the line, when Mr. Shivakumar calls me for next meeting, probably I'd have lost even this. Because there's a problem at home. And the biggest problem is, my son is in the 12th, and he wants to go for automobile designing. One institute available in India, one college, a limited number of seats, in a faraway place called Ahmedabad, tough to get in. And my wife says, I don't want to send you to such a far place. Second, there are so many colleges available in Tamil Nadu, so why do you want to go far away from the family? Number three, if you are interested in automobiles, why don't you get into automobile engineering? So my son says, I have to work in the shop floor. Then my wife says, no. Your dad works in an IT company, AC environment. Go for computer science. Why automobile? My son has a passion for designing, automobile designing. And I'm sure most of the kids that land up in your colleges is in a similar situation today. Unfortunately, I am unable to decide. I go and preach a lot in the colleges, but when it comes to home, you know the factor there, right? So, I'm in a dilemma. I'm telling my son, follow your passion. As I always say, the kids, talk to the kids. But there's another factor which says, go to a course which will give you a job, which will place you in a good company, which will give you a comfortable environment. I think most of the kids that come into your institutions fall into this category. They are not there because of their passion. They are all there because of peer pressure, the family pressure, society pressure, whatever you name it. So how do we convert that, given the fact that they are not passionate about the subject that they have chosen? So how do you convert that into a passion? Believe me, it is not in the hands of the kids who are there. It is in the hands of people like you. How you mold them? You have 4 years, and these people are there in your hands for the next 4 years. How do you convert a guy who is mechanically tuned to get into a IT space, or a guy who is tuned to an IT, who is having dreams of joining an IT company, gets into a mechanical space? So how do you convert that? That is, I think, a huge challenge today. And I represent a company. It's a company called Hexaware Technologies, very close to FL Smith, the same Sipcot campus. We are kind of a 400 million company having about 10,000 employees, and our biggest center is in Chennai. For the past almost close to 5 years that I've been there in the company, and I've seen different sectors in my 25 years of journey in the HR field. Worked in manufacturing, started my career in manufacturing, went into service industry, came back into IT, went back into airlines, then again back in IT. If you look at the attitude of fresh engineers, anywhere across these industries is the same. And that's a huge challenge for any sector for that matter. It can be an automobile industry, it can be an engineering sector, it can be an IT, it can be a service sector. Couple couple of months back, I was there in IIT, one of the top leading IITs, talking to the students. And I was surprised to see the dean who has lost all his hair. I said, why? We are the people who are supposed to lose the hair, but this person has lost most of his hair. I asked him why. He said, sir, one thing that I want to confess today. IIT is known as a temple of Indian education. You brand it, but end of the day, the students that we get is the same kind of students that we get in any engineering colleges. And it takes us 6 months to change the mindset, to bring them into our system of education in IITs. And that 6 months is a torture for us, not for the students, it's for us. Because students are tuned to crack the IIT exams. They are not tuned to study engineering. So we have to make them unlearn whatever they have studied and then start afresh. And by that time, they have to cope up with the first 6 months of engineering first semester, follow it up on the second semester, and second semester they're supposed to study both the semesters together. So you can understand the pressure the students are in. While this is a challenge for IITs, I can very well imagine the challenge it is for you all. And it's a bigger challenge for all of you because most of you sitting here come from tier 2, tier 3 cities, right? And the students, the captive areas for your students is also from those areas. Communication is a big problem. And we as a company, when we go for recruitment, when we do the hiring, we are normally, late players in the market. We don't go as early as August, September. We normally start our recruitment cycle sometime in December, January. So by the time we reach the colleges, the cream is already gone. And whatever is left, if communication is good, the other part is bad. If they are good in studies, communication is poor. And we very strongly believe as a company that we are not bothered about marks. Though there's a benchmark for the screening process, we are not very much bothered about the marks. What we really target is the fundamental knowledge that we all spoke about. The very basics, what you have studied in the first 2 semesters or in your plus 2. And even when we test the students on any of this, we always test them on what they have studied in their first year. To give an example, when we do the technical rounds, it can be an electrical engineer, it can be a mechanical engineer, we don't bother about that. But when we interview an electrical engineer from an electrical field, we never ask him an IT question. We just ask him some basics, ask him to draw a basic circuit diagram, whatever. And believe me, 9 out of 10 fail to do that. And he gets disqualified. And if you look at our hit ratio, we look at 1,000 students, spend 3 days in an institution, and finally we end up getting 2 or 3 students from that institution. Be it a pool drive, be it on campus, off campus, whatever you call it. The reason, base foundation is not strong. And in their clamor to get marks, whatever, we get into a rote method of studying, get good marks. But again, when it comes to the final test, when it comes to the final exposure, the entire effort is gone. So focus on fundamentals of the students, whatever streams they may be. One is, changing their passion, converting from whatever they have come in, to make whatever they're studying as their passion. Number 2, get the fundamentals right. Number 3, communications. We have spoken enough about communications, right? Every forum that you go, you only speak about communications. 4th part, which is very important, which I find lacking, especially in the current generation, Gen Y or Gen X, whatever you call it, is the awareness of the things that's going around them. I'm not talking about the technology, I'm not talking about other things. It is about basic general knowledge. There was this joke, which I have also shared in one of my earlier forums. There was this interview that was going on, and this interviewer was asking this candidate, tell me something about Gandhi Jayanti. So this guy started saying that, Gandhi was the father of the nation, he fought for our freedom, he was a barrister in South Africa, came back to India, they did Satyagraha, then he stopped. He said, what happened? Again he repeated, go on. He was not able to proceed further. So finally, when he gave that, the interviewer gave that final push, this guy got scared. He said, sir, that's all I know about Gandhi. Don't ask me about the Jayanti part. I don't know who she was. Okay. So with due respect to Gandhi, what I'm trying to stress here is the awareness that a kid has to have. People have stopped reading newspapers. For that matter, even I have stopped at this age. Morning I take my iPad, look at the news in brief, that's it, done. But every college supplies newspapers in their hostels. It's available in the libraries, but nobody cares to read it. Neither is there pressure from the management, gives pressure. They just go through the cinema pages, they come back, and there should be some mechanism where students are made to read newspapers. They are made to see television, news on televisions, English channels, so that it not only brings an awareness in them, but also improves their communication. And finally, it's all about passion. I started with passion, I want to close with passion. It's about passion about the job. When we look at candidates, we have a very clear guideline, say just hire for attitude. And what is that attitude? We may not be the best paymasters in the industry, but be happy with the salary that you get. Be happy with the job that you get. Be passionate about the salary and be passionate about the job that you're going to do. We don't have a long training period, post-selection. We don't have a huge bench strength, but we ensure that the freshers who get in go on to live projects as soon as possible. And once they get there, the first thing that comes up, sir, I don't like coding. Give me something else. I wanted to get into this. I want to get into that. And when they come and speak to us, they say, sir, is there an opening in HR? We want to join HR team. That's the last thing that we want to hear. Somebody who has spent 4 years in engineering colleges, got into an IT industry with difficulty, coming in and telling us, get into HR. I want to get into HR. And they don't want to do coding because that's what they're supposed to do. That change in attitude. And that can happen only when there's a change in the mindset, that passion for that particular job is brought in, passion for the subject that they're studying is brought in at a very early stage. And finally, to conclude, the other most important thing that we look at, or for that matter, any company will look at, is the problem-solving skills. It's not only about mathematics. It's not only about the problems on paper. It's not only about problems that is there in the books. It's about problems of life. How do they manage life? That, I think, with this generation, it is lacking. And how do you do it? It's all about managing pressure at work. And to start that, you have to start managing pressure in your institutions. I'm a very strong advocate of having a professional counselor in the institutions, especially in colleges. A lot of stress in colleges due to studies, whatever. There has to be a professional counselor on board to handle these kind of pressures. Believe me, these kind of pressures spill over to the institutions where they join. And it all works on a short fuse. You tell them something here, and if you ask me today, we all call Chennai as Chinkara Chennai, name it, beautiful city, whatever. But today, Chennai is the suicide capital of India. Highest number of suicides. And if you look at the statistics, most of it is from the IT industry. Though it may not come, I have been witness to 2 or 3 suicides outside. I've seen it with my own eyes. And all that it triggers is one small incident. The students or the employees who come in, they don't have the mindset to accept pressure. They cannot accept a no as an answer. First thing that they think of is committing suicide. Counselors in the medical, in your institutions will help a lot in tempering down their own temperaments. I think that's very important. And if you have this, and if you have all these things, I don't think why anybody could be lacking in employability skills. Employability skills are available, people are employable, but it's because of these 2-3 factors that's missing in the people. I think there's a gap. We are all there to support you, all your institutions, not in terms of placements, so don't come, sir, please help me with placements. We are not there for that. But in terms of development, I think all of us, we are there to support this cause of enabling your students to get to that X factor and ensure that, because we are running short of people. Every industry is running short of people. We need people. People are not there. People register for the entrance test. On the day of exams, people just disappear. They don't come for whatever reasons. We need people, and people are there. It's for you all to convert the raw material that is there to the finished product that we require. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the very best for this entire day. Thank you so much.